If you do not sign, the wedding ends right here. With only 25 minutes remaining before she was supposed to walk down the aisle, Emily Harper stood frozen inside the preparation room at Willow Creek Chapel. Her fiancé had placed a pin on top of a blue file folder. Jason Miller believed the wedding dress and the eyes of the entire town would force her to give in. He did not know that the documents inside that folder could destroy everything he was trying to obtain. These are not ordinary loan documents. Emily turned to the page containing several property identification numbers. You listed the house my mother left me and the property belonging to Harper's Bakery as collateral. Jason adjusted his cuff. Miller Peak Ventures only needs a bridge loan of $650,000. The liens will be released. Then let an independent lawyer review everything. We can still have the ceremony today and make this decision later. After today, the lender will not wait. Sarah Collins, Emily's bridesmaid, closed the door. Jason, delaying a signature for one day will not destroy a marriage. Forcing her to sign while she is wearing her wedding dress might. Jason turned toward Emily. I have spent 3 years building our future. You only need to prove that you trust me. Emily looked down at the pen. She had considered leaving her library job to help Jason full-time. She had turned down a professional baking course in Denver so she could care for her mother. But the house was where she and her mother had survived their hardest years, and the bakery supported Margaret and 4 employees. Emily pushed the pen back toward him. Trust does not mean signing a document I was allowed to see only minutes ago. Jason's expression turned cold. He took the blue folder, walked into the hallway, and stopped outside the chapel doors. Dozens of guests turned when he raised his voice. I apologize, everyone. There will be no wedding. Emily does not trust the man she planned to marry. Whispers moved through the rows of seats. Sarah rushed forward, but Emily held her back. She did not chase Jason or explain herself to the guests, who looked at her as though she had caused a public disgrace. She removed her veil, left through a side entrance, and stepped into the October rain. The water quickly made her wedding dress heavy. Emily walked along the mountain road while her white shoes sank into the mud. An old pickup truck slowed and stopped several yards away. The man behind the wheel lowered his window. He appeared to be in his late 30s, wore a dark coat, and spoke calmly. Do you need me to call the police, a family member, or a taxi? No. He did not open the door or step out. I can wait here until another vehicle arrives. If you decide to accept a ride, you choose the destination. Emily photographed the license plate and sent it to Sarah with a message, I am safe. I am going to the bakery with a man named Ethan Cole. Harper's Bakery, she said. Ethan unlocked the passenger door. During the drive, he gave her a dry coat from behind the seat and asked only whether she wanted more heat. He did not ask why a bride was walking alone in the rain. His silence did not make Emily feel judged. It gave her room to breathe. When the truck stopped outside Harper's Bakery, the kitchen lights were still on. Margaret Harper ran outside and embraced her daughter on the sidewalk. Emily did not cry until her mother said, You do not have to sacrifice your home to make someone stay. Inside, 6 trays of white frosted wedding cake remained on the stainless steel tables. Margaret looked at them, her hands trembling slightly. I will cancel the delivery. Emily wiped the rain from her face. Do not throw them away. Divide them between the shelter and families who need food. Emily replaced her wedding dress with an old apron. Ethan was preparing to leave, but when he saw Margaret struggling to lift the cake trays, he rolled up his sleeves and carried each box to the truck. He held every container with both hands, as carefully as though a gift for strangers mattered just as much as food prepared for an expensive celebration. When the final tray was secured, Margaret pulled Emily aside. "I need to tell you the truth. The last 2 equipment payments were late. Jason knew and said he could help us refinance, but I never agreed to use the bakery as collateral." Emily's phone vibrated repeatedly. Jason was calling for the 6th time. A message appeared. "Return the blue folder. Those are company documents." Emily looked down at the canvas bag. Sarah had placed the file inside it with her phone. Ethan had returned to collect his coat when he noticed one page sticking out. His eyes stopped on file code WC417 and the 2 property identification numbers. "I am not a lawyer," he said, "but those numbers identify property ownership. Do not sign anything, do not return the original documents, and do not let anyone working for Jason take them before you examine the public property records." Emily paused. "You understand these documents?" "I understand enough to know that when someone is desperate to recover them, that person is usually afraid someone else will read them carefully." Margaret spread every page across the table. Behind the unsigned guarantee was an electronic authorization form Emily had never seen. It was dated 3 weeks earlier, during a time when she had been working the evening shift at the library. Beneath it was a signature bearing the name Emily Harper. In the section for the additional guarantor was Margaret's signature. "Did you sign this?" Emily asked. Margaret turned pale. "No." Outside the window, the headlights of a vehicle switched off. A shadow stepped into the rain as Emily's phone lit up with another message from Jason. "I am outside. Bring me the documents." Emily did not take the documents outside. She locked the bakery door and stood behind the glass as Jason approached. "Those documents belong to Miller Peak. You are illegally holding company property. They contain my name and property belonging to my mother and me. A lawyer will review them tomorrow morning." Jason glanced at Ethan. "She just walked away from our wedding, and now you are already here? That was fast." Ethan did not step forward to speak for Emily. "Miss Harper has asked you to leave." "I will not return the original documents," Emily said. Jason tightened his jaw and walked back toward his vehicle. "You have no idea what you are destroying." The following morning, Emily and Margaret searched the county property records. A notice of pending security interest had been filed against the house and Harper's Bakery. Because the original documents lacked valid signatures, the filing had not yet created a legal lien, but it was enough to prevent them from selling or refinancing either property until the dispute was resolved. When they returned to the bakery, the flour supplier had demanded early payment. Online, Jason claimed that Emily had canceled the wedding after meeting a wealthier man. He did not name Ethan, but photographs of the old pickup truck outside the bakery had spread throughout Willow Creek. "People are canceling their orders," Margaret said, staring at the ordering screen. "They say they do not want to be involved in the scandal." Emily pulled a chair beside her mother. "We will not fight a lie with another lie. We need evidence." The doorbell rang. Ethan had returned with the scarf Emily had left in his truck. A silver-haired man stood beside him. "This is Thomas Reed, a real estate and business attorney," Ethan said. "You may choose someone else. In that case, I will leave." Thomas opened the file only after Emily gave permission. He had once prosecuted financial crimes and now assisted victims of fraud. Ethan had not purchased control of the legal representation. Every decision still belonged to Emily. Thomas placed two versions of the documents beside each other. The confirmation page was assembled from a different digital file. The typeface, embedded data, and creation time do not match the guarantee inside the blue folder. The notary seal appears to have been copied from an older document. Margaret suddenly gripped the edge of the table. The insurance agreement. 2 months ago, Jason asked for a copy because he said he could help me refinance the equipment. It contained my signature and the notary seal. Thomas looked at her. Do you still have the original? In the safe at home. At that moment, Sarah called Emily. Her voice was urgent. I just found a voice message Jason sent before the wedding. I saved it because the way he spoke frightened me. Jason's voice could be heard clearly in the recording. If Emily does not sign before the ceremony, there is no reason to marry her. You must convince her. Margaret turned away. Ethan remained beside the window without touching Emily. Thomas said, the recording proves pressure and coercion, but it does not prove who created the signatures. We need the editing history and data from the lender. Emily opened her computer. Using her research skills from the library, she created a timeline based on work schedules, bakery delivery records, and Jason's emails. The signature bearing her name had been created at 8:17 in the evening, while the library system showed that she was leading a reading program. Ethan explained the financial language, but did not offer to pay the bakery's equipment debt. He asked Emily how she wanted the evidence protected. She realized that he was standing beside her without trying to take control of her life. Thomas sent formal data preservation requests to Jason, the lender, and the electronic signature service. He gave Jason an opportunity to withdraw the property notice, release the records, and cooperate before the case was referred to investigators. Jason refused. During a telephone call, he said, Emily agreed verbally. She changed her mind only after Ethan Cole appeared. Emily and Margaret publicly disclosed every bakery debt and created a plan to save Harper's Bakery through advance orders, cafe contracts, weekend classes, and a revenue-based loan that did not use the house as collateral. 3 days later, the Willow Creek Economic Forum was filled with residents and local business owners. Emily attended to submit the bakery plan to the community credit office. On stage, the host introduced the main speaker, Ethan Cole, founder of Cole Development, the largest private investor and wealthiest man in Willow Creek. Emily froze. The man wearing a suit on the stage was the same person who had driven the old pickup truck and taken her out of the rain. After the event, she stopped Ethan in the hallway. You knew people were accusing me of leaving my fiancé for a wealthy man, but you never told me who you were. I was not pretending to be poor or testing you, Ethan answered. The truck belonged to my father. I was only visiting family property that day. But I should have explained sooner. I need distance. You will have it. Ethan removed himself from every meeting involving the bakery loan and did not call Emily. That did not erase her feeling that something had been hidden, but it forced her to reconsider her anger. That evening, Thomas received data from the lender. The documents carrying Emily's and Margaret's signatures had been uploaded through Jason's personal account. He placed the final page in front of Emily. Jason was not only planning to borrow money against your house. If Miller Peak failed to repay the loan, he had prepared the right to purchase both the house and Harper's Bakery below market value. The following morning, Jason would stand before the entire town and request a loan and public development funding. He still had no idea that Emily had already read the clause designed to control her future and her mother's. The following morning, Jason stood before the Willow Creek Economic Forum and asked the bank and town council to approve a loan and development assistance package for Miller Peak. Emily Harper once agreed to guarantee this project, Jason said. She changed her mind only after meeting Ethan Cole. A personal relationship should not destroy hundreds of jobs. Every eye immediately turned toward Emily. Ethan began to stand, but she gently shook her head. "Let me speak for myself." Emily walked forward and placed the blue folder beside the microphone. 25 minutes before our wedding ceremony, Jason demanded that I use my inherited home and Harper's Bakery as collateral for a loan of $650,000. When I asked for a lawyer to review the documents, he canceled the wedding. This is the original agreement. It was never signed. Jason laughed dismissively. The electronic version is the legally valid one. Emily removed the signatures from the paper copy to punish me. Ethan spoke only after Emily nodded. He confirmed that she had not known who he was when she entered his truck and that he held no financial interest in Harper's Bakery. All I can confirm is that the story claiming Emily abandoned her wedding to pursue a wealthier man is false. Thomas Reed displayed the document history on the screen. The confirmation page had been created separately. The signatures had been inserted later, and file WC-417 had been uploaded through Jason's personal account. A representative from the property title company confirmed that the notary seal had never been issued for that transaction. Margaret placed the old insurance agreement beside an enlarged copy of the disputed document. The signature and notary seal matched perfectly. "I gave this document to Jason because I believed he was helping me refinance the bakery equipment," she said. "I never gave him permission to use the bakery." Sarah played the voice message containing Jason's ultimatum before the wedding. Library records showed that Emily had been leading a reading program when the electronic signature was created. A representative from the lender confirmed that Jason had claimed both Emily and Margaret had agreed to guarantee the loan. Thomas looked at Jason. "Would you like to correct your statement before we transfer these records to the authorities?" "They are all working together," Jason shouted. "Ethan wants to purchase their property." Thomas opened the final document. Ethan had transferred his family property into a community development trust several months earlier, disproving Jason's claim that he intended to take over the bakery. The bank representative immediately froze the Miller Peak loan application. The town council withdrew the proposed assistance package. 2 financial investigators approached Jason and served him with subpoenas in front of the entire room. Jason turned toward Emily. All confidence had disappeared from his face. "You are destroying my future." "No," she answered. "I am only stopping you from building your future with other people's property and signatures." An emergency court order later removed the fraudulent notice from the house and Harper's Bakery. Emily did not celebrate. She asked only that Jason be held responsible, repay the losses he had caused, and publicly correct the lies he had spread about her. After the investigation, Jason was charged with signature forgery, financial fraud, and making false statements. The court ordered him to pay restitution and imposed a sentence appropriate to the offenses. Several months later, Harper's Bakery received approval for a loan based on revenue, advance orders, and equipment rather than the family home. Emily and Margaret created an online ordering system, supplied pastries to local cafes, and began offering weekend classes. During the transition, Emily continued working part-time at the library and shared responsibility for managing the bakery with her mother. Sarah remained beside her, but learned to offer support without making decisions for her. Emily hired 2 women rebuilding their lives after receiving help from a family support center. Working with Thomas and the library, she also began offering free workshops that taught small business owners how to recognize dangerous loan agreements. Her victory became an opportunity to protect others who might otherwise be exploited. Ethan did not invest in the bakery or purchase ownership. He returned as an ordinary customer and paid the full price for every cake he ordered. On one of his days off, he helped repair the wooden sign outside the shop, then quietly cleaned up his tools. Emily carried 2 cups of coffee outside. "Thank you for respecting the distance I asked for. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do better." They began again with coffee, not a marriage proposal. On the day the bakery officially reopened, Emily replaced the sign reading "Struggling" with a notice announcing paid apprenticeship positions. Margaret stood beside her daughter, no longer hiding bills or fears. 8 months later, Ethan drove the old pickup truck along the mountain road where they had first met. He did not ask whether Emily wanted to be rescued, and he did not promise to solve her life with money. "Would you like to have dinner with me this weekend?" Emily smiled. Yes. She was not ready to marry again, but she was ready for a love that did not require her to surrender herself. Ethan's truck carried Emily away from the worst day of her life, but her self-respect, the truth, and her own hands carried her toward the future. Sometimes, the person who abandons us does not take away our future. That person simply reveals the price we almost paid to make them stay. Ethan was trustworthy not because he was wealthy, but because he had the power to control the situation and still chose respect. Emily reclaimed hope when she refused to sign, protected the evidence, and used her own voice. Real love creates safety, while justice prevents kindness from becoming a weakness that others can exploit. What would you have done in Emily's place? After learning that Ethan had not fully explained who he was, would you have given him an opportunity to explain? Share your thoughts and subscribe to Stewart Stories to continue following stories of love, hope, and justice.